Hello, boys and girls. We're going to finish off our stories now, okay? And we're going to be done with them today. We're going to finish the final paragraph of our story, our fifth part, our escape. And then we're going to check over our story and see if there's any mistakes. And then tomorrow we're going to start learning about something new. We're going to start doing poetry that rhymes. So I'm going to start off reading my final paragraph of Carlton Crabbe. I've called my story Courageous Carlton Crabbe because he's very brave, and courageous is a fancy word for brave. Now, if we remember back to my plan, Carlton had planned that he was going to trap Ozzy Octopus inside the oyster shell. When he finds us, he's going to trick him by saying there's a super precious pearl there, a huge one, and he's planning on getting Ozzy to go into the shell and then shutting him inside. So think back, maybe have a look back, read your last paragraph of what you were going to put in yours. I'm going to start reading mine now, okay? The following morning, Carlton Crabbe went to see Ozzy Octopus. "Why have you not left for work?" said Ozzy. "I'm very sorry, but I need your help to carry a huge pearl that I found yesterday," said Carlton. Ozzy was angry about being woken up, but he was excited by this treasure. They set off and soon arrived at the giant oyster. Carlton opened the oyster and Ozzy looked amazed. Ozzy couldn't help but touch the precious pearl when suddenly there was a loud bang. Carlton had slammed Ozzy inside the shell. Finally, Carlton was free, so he could go back home to see his friends Samantha Seahorse and Tommy Turtle. They all lived happily ever after. So, some things to point out. I've got some little story language, some time words to bring us along. Now, you can use simple things like next, after that, then. Or you can use a bit fancier things like the following morning, the next day, a few hours later that night. So I've gone for the following morning because I said he thought of his plan during the night. Carlton Crabbe went to see Ozzy Octopus. So that first sentence makes sense to me. Got my capital letters for Carlton Crabbe and Ozzy Octopus. I've got my capital, my full stop. I've got some speech here, haven't I? Inside my speech marks. Don't worry if you're not ready for that yet because that's more next year. You'll learn about that next year. "Why have you not left for work?" said Ozzy. He's asking him something there. Why have you not left for work? Why? That's a clue. He's asking him a question. So what do you need if it's a question? You don't use a full stop, do you? We need a question mark. Well done, year one. If you got that, give yourself a pat on the back. "Why have you not left for work?" said Ozzy. Did he just say it? That's a bit boring. Did he just say it calmly? I don't think so. He was very angry. He screamed it, he shouted it, he roared it. I'm going to go for screamed. Try not to use said year one, it's a bit boring. If you can go through your story at the end and fix that, change said to other things. Screamed Ozzy. "Oh, the worst thing ever, no capital in a name. I'm very sorry, but I need your help to carry a huge pearl that I found yesterday." That's okay, and I've got my joining word. Remember to try and use our and but. So, because Ozzy was angry about being woken up, but he was excited by this treasure. They set off and soon arrived at the giant oyster. Full stop. So that must be a capital letter. Carlton opened the oyster and Ozzy looked amazed. Ozzy couldn't help but touch the precious pearl when suddenly there was a loud bang. Now, you can use this in your story if there's a noise. I've put it in bold print, which means sticker writing, to show how loud it was. And I've also put an exclamation mark because it was a really loud bang. Carlton had slammed the oyster shell closed with Ozzy Octopus inside. Yes, I've got my capitals from names, I've got my full stop. Finally, Carlton was free so he could go back home. He could back home. It doesn't make sense, does it? He could go back home to see his friends Samantha Seahorse and Tommy Turtle. So, Samantha Seahorse, I've got my capitals. Tommy Turtle's not going to be very happy with me, is he? He's important. He needs a capital letter to show he's important because that's his name. They all lived happily ever after. Now, year one, I want you to go back through. I want you to write your last chapter of your story, your last paragraph, sorry. Write your last paragraph. I want you to check for your capital letters and full stops at the beginning and end of each sentence. I want you to check for your finger spaces. Capital letters for all your characters because they're important. People's names. Capital letters for any places in your story because there's people's names. I haven't mentioned any in this paragraph. You can try and use some speech marks if you want, but there's no expectation to. And I want you to try and do this final part of your story all by yourself. Don't worry about spelling things wrong. Use your phonics to sound out the words. Think if you're spelling, for example, a word with an oi sound, is the oi sound in the middle? Is it an ah eh? Or is it at the end of a word, an ah yeah? Try and use all these spelling rules that we've been learning, and try and use all the phonics which you've spent hundreds of hours practicing. This is your chance to use it, okay? Best of luck. See you all soon.